head.
Introduced me to one of my good friends is my real estate partner. His name is Tony. And basically Tony would just sit me down and explain to me how the deals work and how to get the deals done and what kind of credits you need and all those things. So I started small, of course, and I just started to add on to that. So I started residential, and then I got to commercial, and now I'm buying multifamily.
What's going on, world? It's Tony, your host of the Uninvited Hustlers podcast. Welcome back to another episode. I'm excited today. We're in the studio with a good friend of mine, none other than Mr. Tyler Danzy, the king of this castle that we're actually in, the Get Right Then Studios. This is his spot that we actually record in. But that's not why I got him on the podcast. I got him on the podcast because he's a genius. He's one of the first people I know, the youngest person I know to ever buy a house. So he bought a house at, I believe he was 23 years old. Right out of college, he bought a house. Then a couple of years later, he decided to use the equity in that to get out that, get into another house. So he kind of bought and sold early too. So he was real good on the equity game. And I think a lot of people sleep on how just getting that first house is the kind of catalyst to kind of get your ball rolling. So he also dibbled and dabbled as a realtor for a little bit as well. So I mean, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. But Tyler, please tell the people what I didn't tell them. Who are you? Who are you?
Man, Tyler is just a cool guy. Stay out the way, man. You know. You hit it most of the stuff. Like I graduated at 22. No, I'm lying. I graduated at 23. So yeah. No, I graduated at 22.
Oh, no, you graduated. All right, let's go back. Let's go back. Before you do that, let's go back. So where are you from originally? Where are you from?
Hickory, North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
How far is that from Charlotte?
About an hour north.
About an hour north of Charlotte. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're about an hour north from Charlotte. You moved to Charlotte to go to school. You went undergrad here at UNC Charlotte, correct? You study engineer?
Yes.
What discipline? What discipline?
System engineering.
All right, so system engineering at UNC Charlotte.
Niner Nation.
That's what's up. Go Niners. You decided for some reason, I don't know why, you decided that you wanted to get a house pretty much right after graduation.
Yes.
And kind of why did you decide to do that at that time?
Man, I think just kind of how I've always been. I've always been the youngest in my circle. So I feel like I've always picked the brains of the wisdom around me. And I think between you, my boy Devin, and a lot of people, everybody was just saying to buy. And I think it's a scary thing, especially at 23. Like, I was still figuring out how to work every day. Like, that was just that was different. Working 40-hour weeks and stuff. So kinda, we'll go back in some too. But just adjusting to that, so feeling like I could be responsible for a house. Like, I had a lot of older people kind of like fix my mentality. Like, biggest thing, I won't go too deep into the house buying yet, but like the biggest thing they taught me is just like, yo, don't look at this. It's like you just supposed to buy your dream house off rip type of thing. Like, just look at this as a better alternative than an apartment and renting. And so once like that kind of stuck with me, it was a lot easier for me to go into it like, okay, this cool enough, okay, or this cool enough. So, I think, but yeah, going back further, like I think I just always money. Like sometimes you see, like when you growing up, you see like what you should do, but then like you see like things you should not do or things you don't want. And I think I was motivated by a lot of, not even necessarily what not to do, but like how to be better than I feel like my current situation was at the time.
I could appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can resonate with that as well.
Yeah.
So let me ask a couple different questions. So when you graduated in May, right? So May
Yes.
graduation.
Yeah.
When did you start your job? Like what month?
Mm-hmm.
And then after you started a job, how long did it take till you get your house?
So I started working in June of 2017.
Okay, so like a month later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I took a month off. And then, so this is so getting to the markets. I started buying or started putting in offers September of 17, like right after my birthday. And it was that thing where you put in off the market by the next morning type of thing. And then at the time, because everything I was looking at was under 200,000,
Okay.
which is like damn near impossible now.
For sure.
But because of that, it was so cheap. It was a lot of cash. It was a lot of people trying to buy,
cash.
185
Investors.
cash, 170. Yeah, it was a lot of that, which I just couldn't compete with.
sure.
You know what I'm saying? So, they can get the process. We'll go down there later. But yeah, it's a lot quicker with cash for those that don't know. So cash. And so from like September to maybe like, because I was actually trying to get in one before my lease ended at the end of November.
Okay.
Didn't happen. So once I figured out like I was gonna move back home for a little bit, I kind of just took a break, kind of let that time pass for that realtor, and so I think I started looking again March of 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, March of 18. So yeah. That was about 10 months since graduation. So
Okay.
yeah, and that's like, but it was good realtor. The first one wasn't a bad realtor, but then I found more success looking at houses outside of Charlotte. So that's why I ended up buying my house in Concord. It was a steep little, let me not say steep. It was like 30 minutes from downtown, 30 and some change, which is steep for Charlotte time.
For sure.
So, but it's only 15 from work. So it wasn't bad. But, what was the rest of the question? Did
No,
want me
you
to
good.
keep
You
going?
good. You
Okay,
good.
I'm about to say,
So
I
you
keep
got
going.
you got a couple points that I guess I want to like pull out from there. So
Okay.
the first one was that you a lot of people don't know that the reason you can purchase a house right out of college is school. Going to school as a full-time student, it counts as work history. So he went to school for 4 years. He immediately had a job, pretty much. He said he took a month off, had a job immediately. So he was able to qualify for a house, saying that he basically had work history by having essentially just that job that he was going into and coming from a full-time student. So a lot of people don't know that. So first of all, kudos to you to kind of knowing that, kind of attacking that. So that's first and foremost. Second part about that is, obviously, we both know, you said it already, that your house was in Concord, which is a suburb of Charlotte, essentially. But a lot of people don't necessarily want to move outside the city for whatever reason. But for you, like I said, it was convenient. It was close to work. Obviously, maybe you had to travel a little bit to go to, Hornets games or Panthers games or something like that. But for your everyday life, you was just going to work anyways. So 15 minutes is not really far.
Exactly.
So you found yourself in the outskirts. Can you talk about the size of your house, like how many bedrooms, bathrooms it was?
Yeah, it was 3 beds, 2 bath, about 1,200 square feet.
Okay.
2-car garage.
2-car garage.
Nice, decent little yard, little backyard, fenced in. Our fenced in backyard, front yard was a decent size. It took me at least hour and change to mow, if you can, kind of guesstimate it. Yeah. So, I would say, suburbish. Like it was a neighborhood. HOA, all that.
Okay. I mean, to me, that's a great first house.
Yeah,
and
for
That's
sure.
a great first house, single guy, right? It was you. You had a dog. You had a dog.
I got my dog.
Right? But it's good first house. But again, the things that I want you guys to take away from kind of what he's saying is he was open-minded to not necessarily living in the middle of downtown.
Oh yeah.
He got the space that he needed. Again, as a single guy, it wasn't his favorite house. He knew that going in, so his mindset was ready for the process. It sounds like he put some offers in, he lost some deals, and then he kind of regrouped. So definitely don't get frustrated, discouraged if you don't get the house you think you're supposed to get, or this is my house, I need this house. If it didn't work out, that means it wasn't for you, right? That's not the one. So don't definitely. I applaud you for kind of working through the process, taking some time off, then getting right back to it. Can you tell us, as far as the particular house that you end up getting, was there any issues? I know you did inspection, things like that. Anything coming up from that was kind of scary from that process?
Man, nah, I can't lie. Like it was, I feel like I've been kind of spoiled through a lot of the house buying process. Because I got a survey done, inspections done, everything was smooth sailing. No plumbing issues. I think the AC, HVAC, and everything was fairly new, like within 5 years or so. Same with the roof. It was a well taken care of home.
Fair enough.
And I think, like you said, you got to get your inspections and stuff done. But like I do think it's possible to find very, good in shape homes, that are not like brand new. So yeah,
For sure.
and I think I kind of even liked. It had the like kind of older school like structure that sometimes the newer homes don't have as far as like how they're built. So Yeah, it was good.
Good, solid home. Okay, yeah. Like I said, the home was nice. So how long did you stay in that house?
Year and 6 months, I believe.
So
right at 6 months.
A year and 6 months, you say, hey, I'm ready to do something different.
Yeah.
Okay. So a year and 6 months, you decided to do something different. If you had rented for a year and 6 months, everybody obviously knows that you leave out the deal with nothing, right? So when year and 6 months, you decide to sell your house, you obviously put some cash in your pocket, or in this case, you maybe put it to another house. All right. So he ended up getting another house, and that one was just because you wanted a different area. Well, like, what was the purpose of selling? Why did you decide to sell when you sold?
You know what? I'm gonna give the podcast a story, man.
All right, let's go.
So
Let's go.
Tony, man, he made one mistake earlier. I wasn't single when I bought my home.
Fair enough.
So that was actually like, I say it was partial motivation for buying a home, but it definitely heavily influenced the particular purchase.
Okay. The original purchase.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
Because single Danzy would not have wanted to live all the way out there. And so I think once Danzy became single Danzy, it was time to get back to the city. So that's probably the easiest way to explain that.
So he was legally single but caked up. So he decided it was a good idea to get in the family type environment. Okay, I can respect that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now fast forward 18 months. You are now single.
Single.
For
sure.
And you want to be close to the action.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, boom, let's get rid of this. Let's move to something else.
Yeah.
Again, you have some equity in your back pocket. You've already purchased a house before, so you got experience in this thing, right? So you reach out to me, right? I was his realtor for this transaction.
For
He
sure.
reaches out to me, say, hey, this is what I want to do. We talk, like, cool, I can list your house, no big deal. Let's find something you want first, just because typically when you own a house already, the other seller won't accept your offer unless your other house is under contract.
For sure.
That's typically how it works. You might be able to get away with it, different things like that, but that's the easiest way to do it. Find the house you want, get your other house pretty much listed same time, and then you can go under contract for both houses at the same time. So that's the process. I believe that's what we did as well.
Forgot about that.
So when we started to list your house, right, I came in, said, hey, looking at your house, this is what I think it's worth. These are some things you need to do to get it ready, which in this case, it wasn't really a lot. It was really just decluttering. I think we might have did a weekend of showings maybe. It wasn't really too much. We got some offers actually before the house even went live, to be honest with you. So I think the house sold in like less than a week, more or less. Okay, so less than a week the house sold. But let's talk about the new buy. So again, the original house was a single family home, 2-car garage, the family thing, gates, all that cool stuff, right? So now you're just a single Tyler, a couple years more mature. Again, maybe a raise or two under his belt. I don't know. But you decided to move, and you decided to move in what type of structure this time?
I went to a condo.
Okay.
I went to a condo. Me and Tony, we looked at a few downtown spots, and it's so crazy, man. I always think about like the price of some of those spots. Like it was definitely spots that was under or right at 200,000 downtown, which is just like it's hard to imagine right now. But yeah, it was a few of them. But the biggest thing for me was the size. Like, could I adjust to the size? I was already hurt. I loved my garage. So I was already hurt. I was having to give that up. But was I willing to give up like my living space? And for most of the downtown spots, like it's gonna be hard to find an affordable downtown condo, townhome, whatever, with 1,200 plus square feet, and you not paying a good amount of money. So, we looked for a minute, but we came to that conclusion. I feel like we actually might have. We looked at a place off of Central, I think, that was a little more in budget.
We did.
But I think the HOA was too much or something. Like it came down to like something simple like that, or they had like a pet thing. It was something like that. So yeah, I ended up going with the one that was the best price wise. Just the different location, but very downtown accessible.
For sure. Definitely downtown accessible. A lot of amenities, I think was a good selling point. And I don't know if you remember this or not. So we obviously put in your offer. The house gets appraised. The appraisal comes in short, right?
Yes.
Appraisal comes in short. So typically what happens, let's talk about that. So essentially a part of your process, right? You put in the bid, say, hey, I want to pay this much for the house. Obviously everything is contingent on what happens in the due diligence process, right? So during due diligence, we get the inspection. Inspection was good. Nothing crazy from there. But the appraisal is a little low comparison to what they were listing at. So therefore, we have now a negotiation, right? So Tyler like, yo, I'm not buying the house for any more than the appraisal value because I'm not putting extra up. Which again, you shouldn't. That's my. I agree. I agree with him there, right? So now it's just on the other realtor to convince his seller that hey, we probably need to reduce based on this, so we don't have to lose the deal. Because if you list the deal, then got to restart the process, relist, yada yada yada, right? So in this case, they claimed that their price was based on an amazing view, and it is a great view, by the way. It's a great view, but they claimed that their price was based on an amazing view. Although that wasn't the appraiser wasn't convinced, right? So you got to remember the appraiser person is the kind of the judge and jury on what the house is worth. So in this case, he said, "Yeah, that's cool. That's how I said they're gonna pay that much for it, but it's not worth that." And he gave them this price. They was upset. They lowered the price. We went ahead and closed the deal. Like, I mean, it was pretty much that straightforward from that perspective.
It was about 10,000. It was about 10,000.
Yeah, about 10,000.
Yeah,
so we kept 10,000 in his pocket, right? What did he plan to sell, right? What did he plan to? Yeah, I guess he was going regardless. But we got 10,000 extra back in his pocket. As I said, he had equity from the first sale of the house to the second house, right? You now have HOA. I don't know. Well, you had HOA the one, but different type of HOA. Yeah. So obviously, people have feelings about HOAs and not HOAs. You had two different type of HOAs because one is a single family home, one's a condo. Are they comparable for you, or was like one really tough? Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah, no, like the single home, the main thing they only gonna trip on you about is your lawn. So that's why I had to start. Cause I will say, like trying to keep up with a lawn, when you like in school and working, like that actually can get kind of tough. So that's why I started, so I wouldn't fall behind on it. I definitely hired somebody to do that. But that was the only thing. Like I never had a thing where I was leaving trash on the sidewalk or nothing crazy. So besides my bushes being too high, that was it. But the condo one, so first off, that's what I was gonna say about the selling of my when I got sold this condo. Bro, I don't know if I ever told you, but I think part of him wanting to sell was the HOA going up because it definitely went up $100 like within like a month or 2 months of me moving. And I was kind of like,
we talked about that.
I had no clue like that. I don't know how that HOA works because it's definitely like $200 more than it was when I started in 2019. And like I don't read enough to even like know why. Like I just know my bill began. Like so that's the only thing I would say I learned or I would have and like you said, coming from a single family home, you don't really know that. But I definitely would have tried to look deeper into bylaws of the HOA.
For sure.
The price, breakdown of the price, why it's costing that. Because then it was like, what are we paying for? And a lot of it is the HOA's in debt. I didn't even know that kind of stuff happened. They're trying to pay off old loans that started a decade before you moved in there. Like just all kinds of like nonsense. So then also with condo too, is like damages, like certain damages they cover. Like I had some issues with like part of my deck was like the wood was kind of breaking down or rotting. Like they came and fixed that for free, stuff like that. So, like the outer structure, I think is what they're responsible for. So, stuff like that, comes in handy. You don't have the maintenance of a yard, but I paid the homies a whole lot less than I paid HOA. So I wish I still, yeah, that junk.
All right. So let me segue real quick. So obviously we talked about HOAs already on the episode Ant. So just go back to that. He's HOA president. He talks about that a little bit, but I will add this in there. So HOAs really typically you, depending on how old the community you're living into, you may incur expenses randomly because they're essentially, they have to maintain the community up to where the current selling price is. So in this case, I'm sure his neighbors are currently selling like crazy because the neighborhood is growing like crazy. So if they want to be able to sell at top price, the HOA now has to make repairs. If there happen to be like a house that caught on fire or something like that, they may have to do exterior stuff to fix it up to get everything back to code. They may also have to maybe do roof. So you may have minor assessments that happen. Typically, it's not a long term, but based on the HOA guidelines, I think typically they can do, well, everyone is different. I didn't even give you a typical, but they say, hey, we can increase the dues by this percent without having to vote, for instance. Well, we want a special assessment, we have to vote, things like that. So definitely you have to review the bylaws, understand the bylaws, see what's important to you. I think for him, we were just talking about whether like, did they have a grill or not? So his requirements to HOA was really limited, but it's also based on your experience, things like that. So again, it's definitely something to look through really thoroughly before you decide, hey, this is what I want to do. But again, he does have a condo, so it is a unique situation in that case too. As we said, he has a great view at the place, things like that. I actually like the place. I don't live there personally. So I would say, like I said, he definitely said there was some pros, obviously some repairs that he didn't have to make. So again, you just have to look at everything from a holistic perspective and see if that makes sense for you or not, right? So thank you for sharing. I'm trying to think what else. It was another question that you said that I lost it now. So we'll keep it going. So we talked about HOA. We talked about obviously the buying and selling process. Well, let's talk about the sale for a little bit. We really didn't talk about the sale. So you sold your father's house. Was there? It sounds like you wanted to move because your relationship status changed. But was there a social attachment to the house or anything that like you was like, I'm not really sure if I want to sell? Like, what was your feelings about the selling of the house?
Oh, there were definitely some sentimental. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was my first house. I felt like I didn't get to live with it long enough. Like, I can get very sentimental. It's hard for me to let things go. You know, houses, cars, women, the whole nine. So, so you know what I mean. So it was definitely a task, and like kind of like a damn. I'm really like leaving. Like you said, a year and a half. My dog, his whole life has been in there, so it was like, yeah, it was different. But yeah, like you, but socially, yeah, I couldn't. I couldn't. It wasn't gonna last.
The fact that the house sold basically, like I said, in a week, did that help your feelings any? Like if
Yes,
it would have been on the market longer, you might have had cold feet, things like that.
Yeah. Like I didn't have, like when you like as soon. I think you said like we got an offer before it went live.
We did.
I was like, okay, cool. Like this is definitely happening. Like there's no, you know what I'm saying. And I saw the price, you know, because I think it was a unique time. It was right before COVID.
Yeah,
but,
right before COVID still.
Like houses were going crazy, and the fact that how much I'm trying to think of the percentage wise, but because I bought it for like 165 and sold for what like 185 or something like that. So I don't know that percentage, but 20,000 like year and a half. I realize now how like abnormal that is.
For sure.
What at like 12? Nah, I was trying to do the math. But anyway, whatever percentage, 1/8. You know what I'm saying? So it was like I was like, damn, that's like crazy. And then like looking at and even kind of looking at the market a little bit more now, I saw like how like from 19 to maybe what was that 21, 22, like just how exponential and like house growth was, and then kind of chilled because it was somebody else I saw that like bought something for like 200 and then a year and a half, 2 years sold for like 350. Like that don't that's
it's
not
not
normal.
Not normal.
And because it was in like the first time I bought a crib, like it seemed normal because that was like the only experience I had. Sorry, you know I done got on a
oh, you good? I like that. So like to this point again, equity. If you hear me, if you don't remember anything I say, equity is the reason why you buy real estate. Not yes, you need somewhere to live. Yeah, again, you can live in an apartment. You can live anywhere as long as you're not homeless, right? If you're unhoused, that's a problem. But it's not. I'm a homeowner or I don't have nowhere to live. Like there's steps between homeownership and not homeownership. Obviously, I'm pro homeownership, as you know. But again, his point is he literally made $20,000, and all he did was live in a place for a year and a half. Like how does that happen, right? Like. Again, you live in an apartment for 18 months. All they're going to do is make your lease go up from extra money. Like, you're going to pay extra $200 and they ain't painted up nothing or gave you nothing in the house. It's just different, right? They ain't got no amenities. You're just paying extra. You're paying extra in that same time frame, right? Because you got to renew your lease. And every time you renew your lease, what the price is going up.
Yeah. So I was going to say, now that's another thing. I think I kind of been spoiled with the process as well. So for both of my homes, I never had to come out of pocket for any closing costs. So besides like a survey, but all the lawyers add up those closing costs, I never had to come out of pocket for any of that. And I think that, you know, part of that was the particular I got 100% financing, and then on both actually, and then the equity and everything covered all costs, and then buying, selling the whole nine as well. So I don't really know the lesson in that, but
No,
I'm just saying
that's
it's
a good point,
possible.
though.
I guess.
Yeah,
You know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
it's
I
a
think
good.
that's all.
The point is really that there's possibilities depending on what loan product you use, what lender you use, that you can basically put little to no money down. Like,
Yeah.
it's a fact.
That was
it
really
can
more
happen,
what I was.
and
Yeah.
that's really what's his story. But again, as I said, he bought a house at 22, 23, bought another house basically at 25. So he literally has a streak going where, again, he's experienced this process where he's done it. And now he can say it's possible, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't believe it's possible to even to buy a house that young. And I think that's the key. Like, I think I got my first house, I probably was 27 or 28. I can't remember what the years. But I was 27 or 21 when I got my first house. So at 23, I don't think I was thinking about getting a house. I wanted the nicest 1-bedroom apartment I could find. And it was too small, so I ended up getting a 2-bedroom. Like, that's where I was, right? But to be able to do that, have that experience behind you, and again, not only has he bought a house, but he sold a house too, and then he bought another one. So he has the buying sale kind of under the process. Obviously, changed over the years based on what's happening in the market. But it's definitely something that a lot of people buy their first house a lot later in life. So you got that out the way. So now it's not a scary thing, right?
It's not.
And I think that's the key that I wanted to drive out today, is that it's not a scary thing, right?
Yeah, that'd be scary, and I think but I will say for me, like I did a lot of research. Like I did, whether it's from loans and like the types of loans, like I talked to Tony a lot, but I did a lot of research before I like made a lot of those major decisions. Like even shopping around, mortgages, and I called a few places, and then I, found the one I did. And it's like I don't have to put any money down. And like that's a blessing because I see, like I hear how much people be having to put down, and I'm just kind of like, oh no, like I didn't know that was like, and that's why I be sharing it, because I didn't know that was like, I thought everybody was doing it with no money, like people be saving up 20, like I've never did that. Like I've never, and but it take a lot of research, credit scores and stuff too, but like there's ways to figure all that out too, like. But it's possible. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to, like, throw your life savings. You don't have to save. I had no savings. Like you said, I had been graduated for, 10 months. I was definitely making more money than I had made. But, like, sorry, I'm lying. I did have savings, but I didn't really have to touch it. I spent most of my savings went to furniture and stuff. That's what you end up spending money on. Now, that was different. I realized my mom used to tell me, like, why you plopping on my couch? Like, I filter 100%. Like, like when you start buying furniture and stuff, that jump be crazy. So yeah, that was but yeah, that's my experience though with that. Like the house it's been nice with me for the most part.
I'll just say, everybody, keep in mind, like I said, you need to definitely make sure you're using the right lenders, and talk to me, talk to whoever your professional is, to figure out who can possibly help you, what programs are out there, things like that. I know a lot of great programs. So again, research is important, as you said. It helps the discussion go. Like, educated buyers are the best buyers to work with, right? They ask a lot of questions, you can put them in the right direction, things like that. But it just was timing. So the market has changed from the time obviously purchased last house. So not saying there's not programs available, because I have a lender I can call right now and get you 100% financing, like right now. So that's still possible. But I say all that to say, again, timing is important. The market does change over time. So like I said, let's continue to look at that process if that's something you want to do. So I want to transition now.
Yeah.
So this one is going right.
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
We on.
So
this camera on me?
So you decided, I guess, I'm not sure how long, but after we sold your home, you decided for some reason you wanted to get into real estate, right?
For sure.
I remember you calling me, you had some questions. So tell us what happened. Like, why did you say, hey, I want to do real estate?
Man, so like I think, as crazy as it sounds, I'm probably sound like kind of crazy, but like buying a home at 23, as much as I don't think it was as big of a deal to me at first, until everybody around me was making it a big deal. But in a crazy way, I didn't want it to be a big deal. Like I felt like it was a big deal because, like in our community, I felt like it should be where anybody, like we give each other the tools to be able to buy houses at 23. And so like in a way, I felt like a responsibility to teach everybody how to do that. And so that was So I went through a lot of phases. So originally I wanted to write a book. And then like everybody was like, you too young to do that. So I was like, all right, cool. So then I started podcasting. So like I had my podcast was originally a financial literacy podcast. And so I was doing a lot on there. And then as far as I felt like at the time, man, I feel like it's still relevant. I just don't be thinking about it as much. But at the time I was like Tony, all for buying houses. Felt like the quicker you bought a house, the better. Especially like now when they're saying it's cheaper to rent than it is to purchase a home. That was definitely the opposite of how it was when I bought mine, and still is the opposite. But I think learning real estate or becoming a realtor, I think I just kind of like had a passion for like selling houses, but trying to get our people houses, teaching people how to get houses young. So I think that was like my main motivation. Now, and then if it, could help me quit my full-time job along the way, cool. But that was my main reason why I got into it.
No, I like that. So I think one, I have a personal opinion. This is my personal opinion. Don't fight me if you're a realtor watching this. I feel like you should have owned a house before in order to sell homes. I feel like personal experience and most things in life, other than unless you are other than being like a heart surgeon, I feel like you need to have had experience doing something personally before you can effectively sell it. Not saying you can't learn stuff on the fly from other people, things like that, but other than, again, most heart surgeons haven't died before and had to operate themselves, right? Other than that, right? You for most things you can get practical experience in it. Why wouldn't you do that? Like for yourself. So how are you selling me a house and you never owned a house ever? Right? Yeah. You never paid an HOA fee. You don't know what it's like to get a HOA increase. You know what it's like to cut grass. Like how can you give me advice on this, which is the biggest decision in my life if you've never done that? Again, can you do it without that experience? Yes, absolutely. But I feel like you would be you would be like everybody, oh, I'm the top 100. Like, no, to be a top 100 realtor, I feel like you have to have that personal experience because it gives you an edge that other people can't talk about from personal experience. Yeah, for sure. That's my thoughts. For sure. So don't fight me. Don't fight me in the comments, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think you sell it. I think also when you've already had a home, you have a kind of different level of patience with client. I feel like that everybody didn't have, and I think as I was in the realtor world, I think I saw a lot of what you were just speaking on, people that didn't own homes, like complaining about their clients like heavily. And don't get it twisted, some people definitely do the most, but I think a lot of like you get a lot of grace and patience once you've been through the process on that buying in. I think it's a whole different experience. Again, I can't really speak for those that were realtors when they didn't have homes, so I can't really I came into realty with a whole different mentality than most probably.
For sure.
So it was a little different.
But like I said, I think that gives you an edge, and I think obviously wanting to help people is also the other part of it. I think that's important. Some people do just see it as a check, which is a part of the reason why I have $1 million on realtors, but only a couple of people that's actually selling houses, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So again, kudos to that. Kudos to you wanting to obviously change some generations and kind of make it normalize, 23, 24-year-olds purchasing houses. I think that's a really, really good thing. And congratulations, of course, as always, on everything you're doing with that. So you got into real estate and kind of how did that go? Let's tell us about, was it as easy as you thought it would be, or were you able to save the world? Like what happened? Tell us about that.
So I mean, number one, it definitely is more to it, like as you learn about, like it's a lot to it being a realtor. Like, I think you can, like with anything, you can get into like a pattern and everything, so it becomes easy. But it definitely is tough. It's one of the tougher tests. The real estate exam is one of the tougher tests I've taken throughout everything. I had to really study. I had to really learn things. And like I won't say, but I will say it is one of those things where you learn a lot for the test, but then once you start, like, I used to ask Tony stuff. He's like, bro, I don't know. I'm like, and then once I got out, I'm like, yeah, I don't remember none of that either. So I think it is that too. But yeah, definitely not. Oh, go ahead.
Before you go, so it was about that. So North Carolina, at least when I became a realtor, it was different with him because he was obviously years after me.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to take a course, say it's between 75 and 90 hours of like in classroom instruction.
Yeah.
Have to pass the test for that. Then after that, you have to pass the state exam and the national exam.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you become licensed. Of course, there's fees along the way for all that stuff. But that is like the process to become a realtor. There's an education requirement. There's a criminal history background to it as well, obviously. So it's a lot. It's definitely a rigorous process. I will also say North Carolina is the hardest state in the country, at least top 10, to get licensed in just because of the way the test works. But yeah, you also become a specialist. So it's things you may ask me that you see every day in class that I'm like, I haven't used that because in my specialty of area is this. So I should kind of throw that out there. Again,
so you do have to learn about all of them.
Yeah, you do, but you become a specialist in things. So I only I say last 2 years, I work almost predominantly in new construction, right? Again, so based on what you do, you'll see different issues, and I can answer a lot of questions about new construction because I work with multiple different companies that sells new construction, right? So you do become a specialist of sorts. But that being said, it's not. Once you're licensed, you can do residential, you can do property management, or commercial. So you can do all three of those. Yeah. But you figure out what you want to do with kind of again to you talking about what you said to your passion, and you work in that particular area. So that's why I'm not commercial personally, because I actually want to help people as well. Yeah, I feel like homeownership is important. Again, it's life changing. Whether it's higher than rent or not higher than rent at this particular time, it's not really important to me because in the day we talked about equity. He walked away with first deal, right? So going back to what you were saying though. You said that, so you got into it, and okay, so you passed the class. Eventually, you passed the class, and after that, you got straight into real estate.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much.
What's that process like?
You got to find like a big or pretty much a
firm.
Yeah, a firm. Pretty much a firm. I was brought on to a team early on at a firm, and then I guess structure wise, like firms, dang, I guess they can be different. So you can have like a smaller firm where you just are one of the realtors on the entire firm roster. You can do, some firms have teams, and so you can join teams, and the percentages and all that are different based on the firm, et cetera, et cetera. I think I originally joined a team, kind of two things. So for me, I was working full time. I was doing a lot of working from home. Was that COVID? Did I get mine after COVID?
I think you went to school virtually, so I think so.
Yeah, I think it was. So, a lot of, it definitely was during COVID. It definitely was. It was like 2021 because definitely 2021. But yeah, a lot of, but for me, I kind of wanted some guidance, and I definitely wanted some assistance on leads. And so as far as what my knowledge was at the time, that would be the purpose of joining a team was for leads. Like otherwise, I would just be under the firm type of thing. If I'm doing my own marketing, all that stuff, my perspective was why I'd be on the team. But anyways, though, do you want me to keep going? Yeah. So yeah, pretty much. I just think I think me and the leader of my team just saw things differently. I think that's the best way to put it, man. Hey, man, before I even go into detail, hey, man, God good, bro, because like a couple years ago, I could not have said that. But yeah, nah. Boy, I hit Tony, but yeah. We just saw differently though. Okay. I thank God for maturity. Saw differently, looked at the world differently, and that affected how we work together as realtors. But in the day, people gotta do what they gotta do. So I ended up leaving the team, but I think me personally, I lost a lot of momentum, and I had a lot of frustration with that. So I think I kind of put realty into the background for a little bit. And then that's why I say I remember now, because you get like a year or a year and a half to do your continuing education. Mm-hmm. And the cutoff. So it's like I put real estate on the back burner for a little bit. And then when I started picking it back up, life hit me in the head. And so that's pretty much what happened. And so my deadline ended up coincidentally being around the time my dad passed.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up just letting it ride, just to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was pretty much what happened. So I think with realty, I think you definitely see a lot of shows and you see a lot, but until you really get in it, it ain't like that. Like it ain't like that. I did a lot of studying of wholesale real estate at first. I think I talked to Tony about that too. And then, but like everybody kind of was like, I mean, not that it's, there's definitely people that are successful with that and they're going to argue to the ground that's the best thing. So, everybody got their niches. So that's why I don't knock it. But a lot of people were saying, y'all just get your real estate license. So that was another thing too. I think I looked into wholesale real estate for a little bit, but then, the everybody kind of advised the license thing. So yeah, that's my story. But yeah, did a lot of showings. Trying to think of like my successes or close to successes. I feel like, man, that time it was just, the market was weird. It was a lot of cash. It was a lot of people buying cash houses. And I think a lot of times too, when you're not buying, the cheaper the house, the more competitive it is, basically. And I think, I think a lot of people were trying to buy starter homes. I think that's the best way to put it. And so those were very, very competitive. There would be 15 offers in within that 3 days. So, and then a lot of first time home buyers, if you're competing against somebody trying to buy something cash and invest it in, a lot of times those offers get, so I think it was just a tough time. I think it was, especially if you're trying to buy within Charlotte, if you weren't looking at outskirts or anything like that, like it was just tough. And anything that they could find under or right at 200,000 during that time, investors were scooping up. Yeah. Like they didn't care what it looked like. Like someone wouldn't even come to look at them. They was just, oh, you know what I'm saying? It was, so that was just kind of the game at the time. So I think that would probably be, but yeah, that would probably be my biggest thing.
So for sure. So I want to just highlight a few things he said. The one was obviously, if you decide to go into real estate, who you work with and for, you have to make sure it's a personality fit. Everybody thinks financial first. For sure. What's the split? What's the commission? Like, no, it's personality fit. If that doesn't work out, it's going to be tough for you to, one, obviously generate business, but also stay on that team long term. The second piece of that is, of course, is again, once you figure that out, is okay, is this a person that I can work with and learn from? And if you can't do that, again, you're probably in the wrong place. So the only way it works if it works, honestly. So that's one piece he's talked about. The other one is continued education. So a lot of people don't realize this is you don't get your license and you're done. Every year we have to take continued education. We take 8 hours of continued education. Couldn't get that out. I don't know why. But 4 hours is basically the general update for most realtors, where you learn about the new changes in law, things like that. The other one is an elective course. So you take 2 courses a year in order to be certified. In his case, he didn't get to that point.
Actually, what's crazy, I actually did do continuing education though.
Cool. So he had continuing education,
I did
but he said you had the time clock. So the time clock is you have 3 courses that you have to take to go from a broker and trainer, which is called provisional broker, to a full broker. Yeah, so it's literally 3 courses you have to take to do that. And you have basically that time window where it lapses, and if you don't do it, you pretty much got to start over from scratch, right? So you got continuing education, plus for new realtors, they got to go through that. One is about contracts. One is about, I can't even think of the name of those 3.
I feel like I did
it's
like
3
one
courses.
of 3
So yeah, it's 3
like
courses
that.
plus, again, continued education. So that's a lot of education you got to do in the front half. And again, that's so you are not just out there just, open doors or breaking laws or doing anything like that, because you can't get sued. This is, again, a big purchase for a lot of people. Or not a lot of people, everybody. So that's a good piece. The other part he said is, as the market, like, coming into real estate when he did would definitely been tough. Like, I don't know if I would have got into real estate like around the COVID time and when things were happening, I would be good in real estate, because the market, it was happening so fast. Like you need the reps to, as we know, real estate is cyclical. So it goes up, it goes down, up and down, whatever. But if you came in when the market is boiling hot, yes, people are selling at hotcakes. Houses are selling a couple hours, things like that. That's great. But if you haven't sold a house yet, that's really intimidating, right? To be a first-time seller, like that's a really intimidating process. So I don't know if I would be still be in real estate if I came at the time that you did.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing too. And I would say a lot of people that started when I did, they went to chilling. But I think it was kind of 2 sides, because 2020, like if you started in 2020, or around that time, selling crazy 2020, and so you went. into 2021 thinking it was going to be the same, and it kind of was like the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was, I'll say that was probably the root of some of our issues too. Like at the time, like it was no consistency in how things were just flowing. Period. And so, yeah, and realty, man, or being a realtor. I think the biggest thing, marketing is a big thing. Like
Great
whoever
thing.
figures out marketing is like, like king. And that's with anything, with realty, with
Any business.
with any business. But with dang, what was my next? I was going somewhere with that. Marketing is huge. But oh yeah, that's where I was gonna go. But at the end of the day, with realty, like that's when you gotta start paying attention to the news and stuff. Like, because the economy affects that heavily. And I think that was probably the biggest thing. I mean, COVID was like a, hopefully once in a generation type of thing.
Sure.
But like that affected realty more than I could say, whether my marketing was good or not.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll say that too, like to your point, I know a lot of stuff about just random numbers now. Like I can look at the Treasury report today and I know what the interest rates are going to be for houses just by looking at stuff like that. As a regular everyday person, I wouldn't know anything about that. I also know like, hey, they probably going to be building in this neighborhood, the zip code in the next couple of years. So it's stuff just because you are out in the environment. You look at the whole city differently. I put it that way. Look at the city differently as a result of having a license or even just being educated on what real estate is and how it works. So again, kudos to you for giving that a shot.
Sure.
And I definitely wish obviously it turned out differently because like I said, I feel like you had the right mindset going into it. So maybe you'll come back to it. Maybe I don't know. Definitely got to start everything from scratch. So then, and that's definitely like not really. You're probably not looking forward to that piece,
that's
right?
the part. But I think I just had to go into it with a better plan. I think, just a better plan. Cause it was never. I mean, of course, everybody wishes that it end up being, full time. But I don't think I was ever gonna necessarily putting the energy in to go full time with it. I think that's the
Fair
best
enough.
thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, get what I could get.
Okay. Cool.
And really more about education. So I think between my podcast and going on other podcasts and stuff, I talked about it pretty heavily too once I graduated, and educated. And I would say kind of influenced some of my other people to buy homes as well.
That's what it's about in the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's really what it's
paid
about.
off that way.
So we transition to the last segment of the podcast today. I always give my guests the opportunity to ask me a few questions. So we got some time. If there's anything on your heart, something you want to know, something I possibly can answer for you.
Yeah, okay.
Here's the time.
I feel like I ask you everything. What do I want to ask you on camera? Man, tell us how to start a travel group, Tony.
This is a real estate podcast. This is a real estate podcast.
Okay, real estate wise. Okay. I do have a question. So, okay, they do know that you bought a home and then you bought another home, right?
Maybe I don't know.
Am I allowed to?
Yeah, just
speak
go
on that.
Yeah,
okay,
what's the question?
All right, making sure. How did you decide to keep your old home and actually purchase? Like, what stopped you from selling your old home and purchasing a new one? And what are the benefits you see of both sides?
Okay. Great question. So my favorite game growing up was Monopoly. I'm not even being funny when I say that. I'm an only child. So if I was playing Monopoly, that means my cousin was over, some friends from down the street. It means we had a family gathering. Like I was having a ball.
Sure.
I ain't want nobody to go home. I'm trying to spend the night. My parents like, hey, it's time to go. I'm like, I'm falling asleep. I'm fake sleep. Like I never wanted to leave. So Monopoly is my favorite game because that means I was around a lot of people and we was around some love. Outside that was spades. But Monopoly is like my true favorite game. So what you learn in Monopoly is... And what I learned in Monopoly is obviously you buy enough houses, you get hotel. Like that's the premise of it. And obviously the more homes or more hotels you have, the more money people owe you, right? That's literally how it works. So take that as an adult, right? Obviously home ownership is important. You always need somewhere to live. But as the city you're living in is changing, so I moved to Charlotte in 2011, excuse me. Moved to Charlotte in 2011. So I've seen Charlotte grow up to what it is today. And I realized at that point how instrumental or important that real estate was. The place where my first Charlotte home used to be the worst housing project in Charlotte. Used to be, right? If you went over there, you tell people, "Oh, you live over there?" Like that's the question I got when I first moved over there, right? But I understood like where Charlotte was going, and I felt like it was important to have that. So fast forward a couple more years, I decide that it's time to get a new spot. I don't necessarily want to get rid of that one because I got a great rate. And if I can Airbnb or rent it out to individuals, I can make the money for both mortgages. Long story short, when I decided I wanted to move, I said, also cool. How can I also move to a neighborhood that's going to be growing so that, again, if I decide to sell and or rent it, I'm able to take advantage of equity because equity at the end of the day is how you win, right? So I say that to say it wasn't a requirement for me to sell, so I decided not to sell because I feel like when it gets to my number and I have a number in my head, if it hits that number, then I'm willing to sell. Right now, I'm not. Yeah. It's not. I feel like it can go. I've seen it go crazy. I should say that too. I've seen the price go from what I paid for it to. It's probably, if I sold my house today, I'll probably get 3 times what I paid for it if I sold it today. But I feel like it can go higher. So I'm not interested in selling it because I know it can go higher just based on the location. And what I see happen in Charlotte, again, looking at 2040 plan and all that stuff like that. So for me, it was, again, being a realtor now, I can make more educated decisions about should I buy or sell. And ultimately, if I do sell to my monopoly plan, I'm going to sell multiple houses because I have a couple other rentals. I'm going to sell multiple houses and then get a hotel. In this case, it may be multifamily or maybe actual hotel. But my goal is to have enough properties that I can now make a bigger investment, and it just makes sense. So if I sold today, I'm really just selling to put money. I'm probably pay, I don't know, 1 or 2 bills, maybe go on vacation, but nothing meaningful is going to come out of me selling it. Yeah. Whereas if I keep it, as long as I'm able to maintain it, I think it's a great investment for long term. And again, I don't think my kids or anything in the future are going to ever live in. Like, it's probably going to be sold way before that. Yeah. But again, once it hits to the price that I want it to be at, then I'll be entertained selling it. But until that, I think I'm gonna just ride the wave because to me, it makes sense financially, and then looking at the future of Charlotte. Yeah. So that's a very good question. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah, I think that point. I remember people would always joke about watching House Hunters or whatever. And they're like, you see a couple, and it's like she's a massage therapist, he's a firefighter, and their budget is $650 for a house. And it sounds really crazy until you really get into it, and it's like 2 years into realty or into like owning homes. Yeah, about 2 years. Let's say 2.5. After I was in my second home for a year, I was like, oh no, I see how people buying $500,000 homes.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to say it's easy, but when you buy, when you're going from a house to another house,
easy.
It's not that bad. Like it's not, and on top of that, and it'd be decent jobs, like a 2-income household, with decent jobs, like y'all can make a lot of shape just by buying soon, or one of y'all buying soon. I would love a situation where when a chick already got her own house too, but we both said, man, that'd be but yeah, like it's like really attainable. Like it just show you how attainable stuff is, like as far as homes. Shoot, and then like you even see why when people be having homes, a lot of times they be living good because they be buying stuff with them home equity loans. They buy, whether it's redoing it, I mean, you ain't supposed to. People take vacations off of that. Like it's just like a lot you can do with that equity. What's its gain? And that's what I was gonna ask you too. If you use some of your home equity to invest into or for your newer home too, because I know that's like a thing you can do. I don't know how much you done talked about.
So before I answer that, you said something that I want to. So 2 things. When we always hear celebrities buying houses in cash, they're not really buying them in cash, right? What they're really doing is they're using a different vehicle. So it could be leveraging their investments, another investment, could be a house, something else. They're purchasing it with that and then getting the money back and then paying off that loan that they took from their investment vehicle, be it equity, be it that they sold a catalog, whatever they did. But it's not like cash. They don't have that in the bank. They're leveraging something else to get it and then paying that back. So similar to like a home equity line of credit, things like that. So to your point, I actually didn't use equity to purchase my home. What I did do, though, is I use equity in my house. As I seen the prices jumping, I used that to get investment properties. So I now have, I think, a total of 5 houses.
Okay.
I think it's 5. A total of 5 houses that I was in, and most of those, at least 2 of them, I got as a result.
Investment or houses total?
Like total.
Okay,
like,
including
obviously,
the one
obviously
you
don't live
living
in
in.
them.
Okay,
I don't.
okay.
I live in one house.
That's what I'm saying. So 4 investments.
including the house I live in, I have 5.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
my first property that I got, I literally bought that one using equity out of the house, and then I turned around and got another investment, and I used the equity to pay my down payment on the second investment property. If that makes sense. And then I had another one I used like some funds, and I don't know if I should say this or not, but funds from essentially my 401k to get that one. So 3 of my houses came from equity and or money that I was setting aside for future, which 401k house is the same. Again, future is going to grow monthly income. Yeah, it's the same. So 3 of those came by that way. One of them, like I said, I actually lived in, and then I turned that one into what it is now, which is a rental / Airbnb. And then the other one I currently live in now. So literally I used equity pretty much all along the way to build my Monopoly portfolio. So again, I can get that hotel down the road. So
And speaking of 401k though, like that was a blessing. I didn't realize it was a blessing until I needed, but that is another extraordinary vehicle, if you can use it. Yeah, I was with a company that I don't think at 23 or 22 at the time I really understood how much they were actually putting in there and like how significant that was. So when I actually left my job, like that, it was clutch. But it can be for to survive, or like he said, for like investments. But it definitely like a lot of people are able to pull from their 401k for down payments or whatever. Shoot, sometimes even for homes, and because that loan is either super low or or if you're able to actually take some out, it's a lesser fee. But like the 401k is a big vehicle just in finances, period.
oh yeah, for sure.
I did a 401k, but I almost did like permanent life insurance and all that stuff. Like I looked at it early on. I regret not getting more into it because I would probably be in even bigger pockets. But the 401k though is love.
Oh yeah, it's like that's actually a part of the reason I got my first house. At the time, and I kind of told the story possibly before, but my the place where I bought my house, they had lost their certification to get FHA funding, so I couldn't get an FHA loan. I had to get a regular one, so I couldn't put down 3%. I put 20% out.
Oh, okay.
So obviously I don't have 20% sitting anywhere, but in my 401k that I've been investing in since I graduated, it's been growing pretty good. So I'm able to now take a silent loan from my 401k, put it to my down payment on my house, and now I can move into my house, basically. And now I don't have any PMI. I don't have any of those situations going on because I was able to borrow from my 401k.
That's
and it's a 10-year loan that I get to pay back with basically every paycheck. But it doesn't show up my credit report because it's a loan I'm taking from myself, right? And so long as I pay it back, there's no penalty from IRS.
Yeah.
So it's actually a very great product to be. So again, if you're going to buy a house at his age or even at my age that I bought a house in, if you really just get into your company, they match your 401k, do that because that allows you on the back end to use it for whatever you need it for.
Yeah.
And in this case, investments or a house to live in. And it's a qualified expense. So definitely something that a lot of people don't know about or don't know about as much or don't use as much. But it's definitely something that can help you when you need that large sum of money because house prices have increased. And that can help you get over that hump. So,
and I think that's the other thing too. Like if I know we're getting a little bit off of real estate, but
it's fine.
Just like I got an episode I'll get right then called "Just Save That," but like saving or saving / investing, like it really can be impactful. At 22, you're not gonna hear that bleep, but you are like, and I think that's only like I was glad I was forced into 401k or I talked to Tony. I was like, they putting this amount in regardless. I ain't putting nothing. And he was like, yo, like, do a little bit, please. And I was like, all right. And so, like, that's why I say I was always glad I had older people around me. But, like, investing early, like, it just makes things easier and you don't really realize it. It's been 8 years almost since I graduated. 7 years since I graduated. But, like, if I had been investing certain amounts of stuff, like I could be even further. Like that's all I'd be thinking about. Like I really could be further, if I was like not so stubborn and stuff.
Well, thanks for that question. Anything else you want to share If not, I need you to drop your social so they know how to get in contact with you. Again, you've been an awesome guest. We talked a lot. We talked about obviously home ownership, selling, buying, real estate, a little bit of 401ks and investing. Again, Tyler is a wealth of knowledge. He's, again, a very young man. He's an eligible bachelor, so if y'all need him, slide in his DMs for that. I know. But seriously, again, I definitely appreciate you for sitting on the couch today, for opening up your studio to us. It's again been a pleasure to be here, and I'm glad I was able to get you on the couch and get some meaningful information for the Uninvited House guests.
Yeah. So, only thing I have left to say is, I'm gonna make my announcement. So I'm about to move for a little bit. So Tony is this is official breaking news. Tony, I've just hired Tony as the studio manager of Get Right Then Studios. So, man, it's gonna be a journey, man. I'm excited though. I'm excited about everything. So for your studio needs, come holler at Tony. I'm still doing the editing. So yeah. We in there.
Drop your socials.
Oh yeah, just follow me at Get Right Then LLC on Instagram, and I'm on TikTok a little bit. But yeah, definitely come fool with us. The studios, I do camera work too, 360 booth, all of that. Yeah.
Well, again, thank you, man. Thank you,
man. For sure, man. I'm glad you put me on here, man. You know, I wasn't gonna ask to be on here, but I was expecting an invite at some point.
We had to line it up. We had some, again, I think we had some awesome episodes so far. This is another episode, another great one. So like I said, I think it's been a great journey. Season 2 has been everything that I needed it to be. And I hopeful that you guys are learning from these people. It's again reaching out to them as well, because they are giving you their contact information. So we had a lot of great people on the couch, a lot of great real estate news and investment news. So we can, again, make sure that you are ready when it's your time. So again, we're not going to tell you what you want to hear. We're going to tell you what you need to hear. And that's the purpose of the show. So thank you guys for checking us out. Peace.